Hi, and welcome. This is going to be my honest and spoiler-free review for Tress of the Emerald Sea. This is Brandon Sanderson's first of the Secret Project novels that he wrote during his quarantine time, and I'm going to say that it was delightful and whimsical, and I really loved reading it. I won't quite give it 5 stars, for reasons that I'll get into when I'm talking about the plot and the narration. But other than a couple of little things that bugged me about it, I would say overall good and well worth the time spent reading it. This story does take place within the Cosmere, the wider universe of interconnected worlds made up by Sanderson himself. And there are quite a few references to the Cosmere. I will say that I think Tress of the Emerald Sea could be read as a standalone. It is a self-contained story, but the narrator's voice is well aware of the Cosmere. So if you as the reader have not read the other series by Sanderson, you will still enjoy the story, but you may not understand all those references. So, wider world of Cosmere, not required reading, but would be helpful for your enjoyment. Next, let's get into the setting, because it's really cool and strange and weird. The story takes place on a world called Lumar, and our main character starts on a little rock on an island, but not an island like you might expect, or on a sea that you might expect. This planet is surrounded by 12 static moons, and each moon drops spores of a specific color with specific characteristics to each spore that drop from the moons onto the planet in such large amounts that it creates a literal sea of spores. Kind of like a sea of dust or sand, but each one is a vivid color. The one that we start in being green or emerald colored. These spores are dangerous because they react to water. And when a spore touches water, it explodes into whatever its inherent characteristic is. And in the Emerald Sea, these spores are verdant vines. So a spore touches water and it explodes into a giant vine. This is dangerous to humans because humans are made up of so much water. And if you live on this world, you know that the things that keep you safe from the spores are salt and silver. The salt doesn't actually come to play in the story as much as silver does, except that they drink salty tea and that just sounds terrible. Now the main character, Tress, I really loved. I will be making a character study video for her, which I'm not going to put out immediately because I want to give people a chance to read the book before this character study comes out. But I really admired her as a character, and I found her very relatable. Her nickname is actually Tress, named for her untamed tresses. Her real name is Glorf, unfortunately. You can see why she might prefer her nickname. But she is a girl who keeps herself, as in her deep desires and her fears, to herself. She doesn't share much of herself with others. She doesn't want to bother people. She doesn't want to impose upon them. She doesn't want to speak up for herself. She doesn't want to have to say what she needs. She has a really hard time putting herself first. She is a small island girl, window washer by trade, and collector of cups. And the cup collecting is really cute, and I also relate to this because she doesn't just collect cups because she finds cups themselves interesting. Each cup represents the far-off land that it comes from that she will probably never get to see for herself. Because no one who lives on her little rock of an island is allowed to leave unless you're part of the royal family or have one of the royal jobs. And this story is about how Tress has something important to her, something she cares deeply about that gets taken from her, and she has to face some of her deepest, most lifelong fears to try to get it back. This is a fun seafaring story. This is a love story. This is a story of a personal journey of self-discovery. It does have the classic Sanderson twist that we have come to expect from him, not so much the Sanderlanche, if you will. And I was very proud of myself for guessing what the twist at the end might be. I'm really bad at that. I also thought that my guess was too weird, so I stopped thinking that was the twist, and then it was after all. So that was fun. And now to my complaints. My biggest complaint, And I think some people might disagree with me and think that this is the charming part of the book, but this is my honest review, and that is the narrator. If you have read other works in the Cosmere, the narrator's voice may seem familiar to you. I found it difficult to embrace the sarcastic comments made to us, the reader, by the narrator. To me, in some ways, it took away from the story a little bit, having the story be told to me and then, oh, stop, he's going to make a comment on what he just told us, and then, okay, keep going. I will say that despite the sarcasm of the narrator, the voice of the narrator was also kind, and you could tell that he was cheering on the characters as the story went on, like, yes, they're finally starting to get it, come on. And as we got closer to the end of the story, the narrator would take more liberties of introspection and even more commentary. And that was frustrating when you're getting towards the end and you want to see how things are going to wrap up, and the narrator's like, well, no, let me tell you a little bit about this instead. It wasn't a ton, it wasn't overpowering, but it was enough to annoy me. And I do not possess the same sense of humor as our friend Brandon Sanderson. Humor is one of those things that's just so subjective. Sanderson knows this, but I think he was feeling very free in his writing. And I'll get to why he probably felt so free, and injecting his own humor into it was fine in this instance. And the person he wrote the book for, his wife Emily, likes him and his sense of humor enough that she married him. So, you know, it's fine. And as a whole, part of that freeness of his writing style, the book reads like he enjoyed what he was writing. There were no expectations on him for this book from fans or publishers. He wasn't trying to fit it into a series. He wrote this for fun for Emily, who I'm going to guess is probably his biggest fan. The idea for this story came from watching a family movie, and Emily said, you know what if this main character did something else? And I love that he took his wife's idea, wrote a book in secret for her, and they're being nice enough to let the rest of us read it. So, if this is what we get when an author we love does the thing that he loves the most, writing it for the person he loves the most, then I can't wait to read the next 3 and see what he's come up with for those. And no, I'm not reading sample chapters. I want to be surprised. And I cannot finish this review without talking about the illustrator, Howard Lyon, not sure. The illustrations are beautiful. That was part of the fun of reading this book for me, was turning the page and suddenly there's this beautiful piece of artwork inside. So, how to get a hold of this book if you were not backing the Kickstarter. At the time that this video comes out, I believe you will be able to get the digital versions of the story in just a couple more days. I think they're coming out January 10th. You can purchase the ebook or the audiobook. The audiobook will not be on Audible. I listened to mine through Spotify, and I downloaded the Kindle version for my Kindle app on my iPhone. If you're holding out for the physical version of this book, which I haven't gotten mine yet and I can't wait, that's coming in April. I wish you well on your reading journey, and if you enjoyed this video, subscribe here for more bookish content like this, and I will see you next time. Bye!